Hi, this is Gleason. Welcome back to Chapter 1 on Bookkeeping and Accounting. This chapter has 14 topics. We have completed the first 4 topics, that is, the definition and process of accounting, the difference between bookkeeping and accounting, the objectives and benefits of accounting, and the accounting principles, which are also known as accounting concepts and conventions. We are currently on topic 5. Each topic has its own separate presentation or video. This topic covers some of the important bookkeeping and accounting terms which are used in this chapter. Let's start with the first term, goods. This is a very important term used in bookkeeping and accounting because the transactions of the business are mostly related to goods or services. Understanding the term goods and services will help us to understand majority of our business transactions. The terms purchase and sales are generally used in business and refer to purchase of goods and sale of goods. Similarly, the terms purchase return and sales return refer to the return of goods. Goods are products that either a trader or a manufacturer deals in. Let's analyze this statement further by looking at each component separately. The first component is product. This component provides the identity of the goods. Goods are real things or products that are used. The next component is a trader. A trader is a person who buys and resells the things that are bought. He purchases it at a lower price and sells it at a higher price to earn a profit from the sale. We have learned the mathematical equation in school or college that cost plus profit is equal to sales, or cost price plus profit is equal to selling price. All businesses use this equation to earn profit. Examples of trading organizations are shops and establishments that sell ready to use products, car dealers, furniture dealers, online show stores, etc. The other component is a manufacturer. A manufacturer is a person who either transforms or assembles raw materials into a sellable finished product. They purchase raw materials and spend time, effort, and money in converting the raw materials into finished products that can then be sold at a higher price in the market. Examples of such manufacturers are restaurants, bakery shops, food processing units, furniture makers, car manufacturers, cloth manufacturers, construction business, etc. The last component is the thing that a trader or manufacturer deals in. It means the things that trader or manufacturer does business with or buys and sells. The trader or manufacturer buys certain products with the intention of selling them or doing business in them by either directly selling them or modifying or assembling and then selling them. Such products that are intended to be sold are goods. Let's take a couple of examples to understand this term. Suppose if you go to a car dealer to order a car. They are not a car manufacturing company, but just resellers or traders of cars. They deal in cars, and as such, the cars as well as the car accessories are their goods. They purchase cars as well as accessories from manufacturers or importers and sell them to the end customer or organizations. Similarly, other traders or dealers deal in electronic items, or they may be furniture dealers, clothes retail stores, etc. These carry on a continuous activity of dealing in goods, that is, they purchase and sell goods. Let's take another example. Suppose you go to a restaurant and order some food as well as a bottle of Coke or Pepsi. The restaurant is carrying a manufacturing activity for the food ordered, but a trading activity for the bottle of the soft drink. The food is prepared by them using the raw materials purchased from the market and time and effort in the kitchen to prepare the final product, that is, a meal. However, the soft drink is not prepared by them. They are just reselling the bottles purchased. In this case, both the meals prepared as well as the soft drink are goods, since the intention of the restaurant is to sell them to customers for a higher price and earn revenue or income from sale of food and beverages. As we have seen, the intention of the business is not just a one-off sale, but a continuous activity of either buying and selling or manufacturing and selling. And the products that they buy and sell or manufacture and sell are called goods. Whenever goods are purchased or sold, in accounting terms, they are called purchases or sales instead of goods. Similarly, if the goods are returned, they are termed as either purchase return or sale return. Moving on to the next term, services. Not everyone sells products. In our workplace or even at home, we may come across many who do not have a product or a tangible thing to sell, but who provide certain facilities or skills or physical labor for which we are willing to pay. We do not get a real product in return for our payment, but we get to utilize the facilities or skills or hard work of another person. Such facilities or skills or labor provided by another person or organization are referred to as services. Examples of such services are salaries or wages paid for providing skill or labor, rent paid to the landlord for allowing us to use the premise, conveyance charges paid for transportation in a bus or train or taxi for getting us to our destination. Even flight and visa expenses are services provided to travel. Entertainment charges paid to a theater for providing the facility to watch a movie. Gas, water, and electricity charges paid to the concerned organizations for providing the facilities to live our life without any problem. Mobile, telephone, and internet charges paid for the facility to enable us to connect with people. Electrician charges for repair of an electric fault. Postage and courier facility to deliver our packages. All these are examples of services. So in case of services, we do not get a product or a real thing in return, but utilize the facility or skill or labor provided by another person or organization. Those who do require such a service may employ service providers on a periodic basis at a specified rate. Service cannot be touched or seen. The output or end result of the service may or may not be visible. The next term is assets. Assets are all things, possessions, or products that are owned by the business. They help the business run or function. Anything of value that the business has received and owns, which the business intends to use, and which can be sold or disposed of at a future date, are assets of the business. If the owner buys an asset for his personal use, it is his personal asset and not a business asset. All assets that are received by the business are owned by the business and not by the owner of the business. Since the scope of accounting is related to business transactions only, all personal assets are outside the scope of bookkeeping and accounting. There are two main types of assets. These are tangible assets and intangible assets. Tangible assets can be touched and seen by anyone. It's a proof of its real existence. Examples of such assets are cash, furniture, land, building, car, goods, machinery, money, etc. On the other hand, intangible assets cannot be touched and seen because they have no real existence. Yet they are regarded as assets and they have monetary value. These assets can be bought or sold, especially during business deals such as acquisition, sale, or merger of business. Examples of such properties are goodwill, patent, copyright, trademark, brand name, logo, intellectual property, which is also known as IP. Goods are also classified as assets as they have value, are owned by the business, and can be sold in future. Apart from goods, all other assets are not meant for sale but for usage by the business to carry on their business activities as long as the business can use it. This is the distinguishing feature between goods and other assets. Our intention with respect to goods is to sell it as fast as we can, whereas our intention with respect to other assets is to use them for as long as we can. Let's continue the example of the restaurant when we looked at the term goods. The table and chair that the customer sits on in the restaurant are not for sale. The restaurant does not intend to sell them to their customers along with their meals. The tables and chairs are just placed in the restaurant in order to use them for carrying on the business. The intention is not to sell them, but to use them for doing business. Similarly, the air conditioned unit in the restaurant as well as the computer monitor at the billing counter are not for sale. Such things that are used by the business are the assets of the business. They are used by the business to carry on their business activities. Depending on the intention, the same product may be either goods or asset for the same organization. For example, in case of a furniture dealer, furniture is his goods as the dealer intends to sell all the furniture in his showroom. However, he does not intend to sell the table and chair at the billing counter, but intends to use them for carrying on his business. In this case, the table and chair at the billing counter are not his goods, but his assets. Also, the same product may be goods for one organization, but an asset for another. For example, in case of a furniture dealer, furniture is his goods. However, for an office, the furniture purchased from the dealer is an asset as the office intends to use it for the employees, the management, as well as visitors. Similarly, laptops, computers, and other equipments purchased for the office are goods for the dealer of such equipments, but assets for the office. So the treatment of assets and goods depends on the organization you are working for. The next term is liabilities. Liabilities are whatever we are liable to pay for. If we owe others money, for whatever reason, we are liable or we have the responsibility to pay to them. In other words, if we have to repay someone, they are our liabilities. Liabilities are payment obligations of the business. Let's take a couple of examples to clarify this point. Loan taken from a bank or a financial institution is our liability as we need to repay it. Not only do we need to repay the amount of the loan, but also the interest levied. So both the loan amount as well as the interest are our liabilities. Another example is purchase made on credit, where we have received the delivery of the product but have not yet paid the supplier. The payment of money for such purchases are our liabilities, since we owe the supplier money for the product purchased. Again, any unpaid bills or expenses are our liabilities. These are called outstanding expenses or expenses overdue. Furthermore, any damages or court case charges that the business may have to pay are liabilities of the business. All such cases where we are responsible to pay money to individuals or organizations in the future are our liabilities. Liabilities are a burden on the business. The next term is capital. Capital is the investment of the owner in the business. When a person starts a business, he either invests money or both money and assets to start the business. This investment of the owner is termed as capital. Capital is a contribution of the owner in setting up a business as well as providing additional contributions to the business whenever needed. For example, if the owner rents a place to start the business, he has paid the deposit of $10,000 to the landlord. After that, he may renovate the premise, for which he may buy certain furniture himself or engages either a carpenter or an interior designer to furnish his premise. He has to pay for this expenditure to the extent of $20,000 to set up his business. Additionally, he may buy certain machines, computers, air conditioner, etc. to set up his business premise, for which he additionally spends $30,000. Once the premise has been set up, if he is a trader, he may order goods in order to stock them and start his trading activity. On the other hand, if he is a manufacturer, he may have to buy raw materials prior to starting the manufacturing process. The cost of raw materials or goods is $30,000. Setting up a business takes time and money. The owner invests his money to set his business. In other words, he paid money for starting the business or on behalf of the business. In this example, the owner has already spent $90,000 before the business can even commence. Whatever amount the owner spends for the business from his own personal account, it is the owner's contribution or termed as capital. The business is supposed to give it back to the owner along with all the profits and losses incurred by the business. In other words, capital is a liability of the business as well as the profits and losses that belong to the owner. The owner may even invest other assets in the business. For example, if instead of hiring a premise, the owner owns a premise valued at $800,000 and starts the business in it. Not only does he spend money for other setup activities, but he also provides an asset to the business in the form of a premise. The value of such an asset is the capital contributed by the owner. Taking the above example, The owner does not rent a premise but owns a premise. With all other expenses being the same, the owner has now contributed $880,000 towards the capital. If the owner charges rent for the premise is not an asset since it does not belong to the business. It still belongs to the owner for which he is charging rent. The business has to pay rent to the owner just as it would pay for any other rented premise. However, the owner can charge interest for the capital invested in the business. It's up to the owner's discretion. Had he invested the amount somewhere else, he would expect a return on his investment. Usually, the owner gets the profit of the business for his investment. However, if the business is supposed to pay interest on capital to the owner, such interest on capital becomes a liability of the business. Moving on to the next term, which is again related to the owner of the business, drawings. Drawing is the amount or value withdrawn by the owner from the business for his personal use. The owner may take some money or goods or any other asset for his personal use. Whenever the owner takes a business asset for his personal use, it is termed as drawings. Personal use does not mean that it is for his personal use in his office. An air conditioner in his cabin is not drawings. Drawing means that he has taken it out from the business and uses it for his personal purposes other than business purposes. For example, if a dealer in cell phones had to take his family out for dinner and he took $200 from the office cash box, it's drawings. Another example of drawings would be if he takes a new piece of cell phone costing $800 for his wife on her birthday. Whenever the owner receives such drawings, since the value of the drawings has been taken by the owner, such value is reduced from the capital of the owner. Since the owner has already taken it, the business is no longer entitled or liable to pay the owner that amount. All such drawings are to be adjusted against the capital contribution of the owner by deducting such drawings from the capital. Carrying forward our previous example on capital. If the owner's capital was $90,000 and he made two drawings of $200 and $800 respectively, the total drawing of $1,000 needs to be deducted from his capital when the books of accounts are closed and the financial statements are prepared. In this case, his revised adjusted capital would be $89,000. Sometimes, especially in case of partnership business or joint venture business or even companies, there may be a mutual agreement or a rule to levy interest on drawings in order to discourage the owners and prevent misuse of the business assets. Since the owner has taken the asset of the business, the interest on the same has to be paid by the owner to the business. Such an interest is an income for the business. Rather than asking the owner to pay the money, it may be adjusted against the particular owner's capital by reducing the capital to that extent. For example, assuming the interest on $1,000 of drawings is $50. Rather than asking the owner for $50, it can be adjusted against $89,000 that the business is supposed to pay the owner. In this case, the business now has to pay the owner the remaining capital amount of $88,950. Since drawings as well as interest on drawings are claimed by the business against the owner, they have to be deducted from the owner's capital during preparation of financial statements. Moving on, the next term used extensively in business is expenses. Expenses are payments made for services received. It does not mention about products or assets, but only services. When we pay for a product or an asset, we get the asset in return. We can resell the asset and get some value in return. However, in case of services, we get to utilize the facility or skill or labor for our business for which we are willing to pay. We do not get any asset in return. If we need such services, we are willing to pay for it. The payment made for services received are called expenses. The output or end result of the service provided may or may not be visible. For example, if an organization hires an individual on a monthly salary, the payment of salary will be an expense to the organization. Again, gas, water, electricity payments, rent paid to the landlord, postal, transport and courier payments, traveling related payments, cell phone and internet bill payments, food and entertainment payments for the office party are all expenses of the business. If we do not pay the expenses in time, they become our outstanding past dues or liabilities. All expenses reduce the business profit. The business should strive to keep expenses at the minimum levels. Otherwise, it results in wasteful expenditure. The next term used in bookkeeping and accounting is losses. During the course of business, we may come across certain events which may cause us to lose money or income. In this case, although no service has been provided, yet the business can lose money. Such events are called losses. Sometimes it's intentional, whereas at other times it's unexpected. The most famous intentional loss is discounts. We're all familiar with discounts. We all like bargains and eagerly await either online sales or in store sales. The term discount refers to a reduction of price. Such a reduction is a loss to the selling organization as they have to reduce their price and sell the goods at a reduced price. They have purchased the goods at a cost price or purchase price. They put it up for sale at a selling price by including a profit margin. If the goods don't get sold at their initial selling price, and either there is new stock expected, or in the case of food and perishable items, the product is nearing its expiry date, rather than losing the full cost of the goods, businesses are willing to reduce their profit margin and sell the goods at a lower price. Such business tactics of willing to lose little rather than the full cost are termed as discounts. Other unexpected losses could be loss and damage caused by accident or due to fire, theft, or natural calamities such as earthquakes, floods, hurricanes, etc. Also, penalties of fines or damages imposed by the relevant authorities or loss from sale of assets are all losses to the business. These reduce the business profits. Let's move on to the next term of this chapter, income. Income refers to all earnings of the business in the form of money. There are two types of incomes over here: main business income and other incomes. Revenue is the main business income generated from business activity, mainly from the sale of goods or services. It's related to the purchase and sale of goods. This is the main purpose for which the business was started. Revenue includes both physical receipt of money as well as accrual or revenue recognized. We learnt about revenue recognition in topic 4. Other income refers to other streams of income which are received and are welcome by the business but do not result from the core business activity. Examples of such income are bank interest, discount received on purchases made, income from investment, profit from sale of asset, receipt of insurance claim amount, etc. The next term used in bookkeeping and accounting is receipts. Receipts refer to the money that a business has received from various sources. Whenever the business receives money from whichever source, it is a receipt. All incomes are receipts. Receipts also include funds received by business other than income. For example, loan taken is a receipt for the business. Even capital contributed by the owner is a receipt for the business. Investment received into the organization is also a receipt for the business. So, whatever money comes into the business from whichever source are all receipts of the business. In other words, receipts provide information on all the possible sources from which funds or money can enter or come into the business. This is an important term which is linked to analysis and interpretation of financial statements. We'll easily be able to understand cash flow and fund flow statements. The next term used in bookkeeping and accounting is payments. Payments refer to the disbursement of money by the business. Whenever the business pays money to someone, it is referred to as payment. Payments for purchases made are payments. Payment towards all expenses are payments. Payments towards repayment of a loan is a payment. Payment of interest on a loan is a payment. Drawings by the owner is a payment. Even payment of profit to the owner is a payment if money has been physically paid to the owner or transferred to his account. In other words, payment are all possible areas of the business to which funds or money can be made available. Moving on to the next term, exchange transaction. In an exchange transaction, value is provided by one person or organization to another, and at the same time, value in return is provided by that other person or organization. This deal or transaction is an exchange transaction. For example, in case of a trading business, suppose goods worth $1,000 have been transferred by us. If we receive money for it at the same time, it is an exchange transaction. In exchange transactions, all sales are made for money in return at that very moment before the customer leaves the premise. No money is to be received from the customer in future. Similarly, in a purchase transaction, if we purchase and pay money immediately in return for the goods purchased, it is an exchange transaction. In an exchange transaction, knowing the other person's name is not at all important since you get the value in return. That's why when you go to the market or a grocery store and pay money in return for your purchases, the storekeeper does not ask you your name and address. Exchange transactions are not limited to assets or more specifically goods purchased or sold. Even in case of expenses, if we have engaged the services of someone and paid value in return, it is an exchange transaction. For example, if there was an electrical fault in the premise and we hired the services of an electrician, once the electrician does his job of rectifying the fault and we pay him off, it is an exchange transaction. We have paid the electrician's bill of $150 and nothing is payable in future. Since in all exchange transactions, money changes hand from one person to another, all exchange transactions are also known as cash transactions. The next term used in bookkeeping is transfer or credit transactions. In a transfer transaction, value is provided by one person to another, and at that same time, value in return is not provided by the other person. This type of transaction is a transfer transaction. The value from the other person may be received sometime in the future, usually within months. This type of facility to deliver today and get paid in future is referred to as a credit facility, and the number of days or months allowed to repay the amount is known as a credit period. It is either a result of a contract between both the parties or the parties may be known to each other. The transfer or credit transaction usually occurs whenever there is a regular delivery of products or services. Continuing our previous example of a trading business, suppose goods worth $1,000 have been delivered by us. If we do not receive money for it at the same time, it is a transfer transaction. We have delivered the goods, provided the delivery note, and obtained a signature that they have received the goods. In a transfer transaction, all sales are made without any money in return at that very moment before the customer leaves the premise. Money is to be received from the customer in future. Similarly, in a purchase transaction, if we purchase and do not pay any money in return at that very moment for goods purchased, it is a transfer transaction. For example, whenever the stock of a product gets over in the store, it requires to be replenished or refilled due to the demand for it from the customers. In such a scenario, an order can be placed with the regular supplier or wholesaler or manufacturer to deliver more stock to fulfill the demand. The supplier sends the stock and obtains a signature on the copy of a delivery note as a proof of having delivered the items. The supplier will send a bill on a later date for the total purchases made by the grocery store, that is the retailer, either on a weekly or monthly or any agreed periodic basis. In this case, the supplier and the retailer are doing regular business with each other. The supplier needs to keep a track of the total value of credit given to the retailer, that is the total value of all the delivery notes pertaining to that particular retailer. Also, the retailer needs to keep a track of the total amount due to be paid to each supplier. This again can be calculated from each supplier's delivery notes. From this example, it is clear that in a credit or a transfer transaction, since you do not receive value in return at that same time, it is very important to keep a track of and calculate from a supplier's perspective how much amount is due from the grocery store, or from a customer's perspective how much is owed to the supplier. The name of the customer or supplier and the corresponding outstanding receivable or payable values are crucial. Therefore, recording the name of the other person and the value of credit is necessary in a transfer or credit transaction. This brings us to the end of this topic. In this topic, we have learned some of the important concepts that are used in bookkeeping and accounting. In the next topic, that is topic 6, we'll learn about double entry bookkeeping. If you have found this video interesting and would like to learn bookkeeping and accounting, please do subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon to get notified whenever a new topic or chapter gets uploaded. The entire list of chapters, topics, and related video links are in the description section just below the video. Click on the Show More button to view the complete list. Please click on the like button below and leave your comments as well. You can also share the videos by clicking the share button with your colleagues and relatives so that they too can benefit from this series. Thank you and stay connected.